joy or expressing happiness? Anybody, any thoughts? Would you like to share anything?
Means, my father used to say that being happiness is a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Means,
Happiness is a state of mind. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful because he was absolutely accurate. Anything else? Anyone else wants to add to that? No? All right. So see, there are, I'm sure even if you're not saying it out aloud, I know you were thinking it, you're kind of thinking back and looking at how my mother reacted or how my father reacted or what did we do when we were all happy, right? And so happiness is also part of our culture. We are going to understand today how it is, there's a lot of science that has gone into it now. But there is a lot of art that is around happiness as well. There is so much culture that has evolved around happiness. And what we experience today is a combination of all of those things, right? So our starting point would be the ideas that we have around happiness, right? And I want to take all of us back to the poll that we just did a little while ago. And I have the questions here as well, right? So I was wondering if we could release the results of the poll. I can do that. End the poll and share results. Okay. All right. So we see it here. This is what the room thinks. Happiness is a natural state for people. So the natural state of humans is happy, and 61% think it's a fact. I hate to break this to you. It's not. It's a myth. It is not a natural state. It's not like our default state of being. So that's why it's an art, which means there is an amount of intention, an amount of deliberation that goes into being happy, right? Okay. All right. So the next statement that we had was certain things should always make you happy. That's a myth too. Certain things generally make you happy, but will they always for certain make you happy? No, they won't. They may not make you the same degree of happy each time, if at all, right? Again, happiness is a state of mind. Most of you have said that's a fact. It is a fact. I would in fact go one step ahead and say it's a state of mind and body, but mind works too. Happiness boosts immunity. Yes, it is a fact, and I'm so happy 97% people have agreed. Wonderful. Happiness is a destination. No, it isn't. That's a myth. Some people are just not meant to be happy. Yes, that's a myth. And I'm again glad so many people agree. If you feel too happy, then you will not grow. Yes, thank you. That is a myth. Some cultures don't approve of expressing happiness. Yes, some cultures, and my grandmother, absolutely. That's true. Relationships are better predictors of happiness compared to success. That is a fact. And I can see a lot of people think it's a myth, but between relationships and success, what is a better predictor of happiness? It is definitely relationships. Happiness is contagious. That's a fact. Most people have agreed to that being a fact. So yes, can we just pause for a second and do like a recheck? How many of you, and you don't have to raise your hands, just think about it. How many of you have gotten most of it right? And how many of you have gotten like a lot of myths as facts or facts as myths, gotten it the other way around, right? So can you take like a moment to reassess your views on happiness, what you think about happiness? Any thoughts, anyone? Did anything surprise you there? Anything you want to share? I'm all ears. Yes. Tell me.
I was surprised by first question of the quiz.
Mm-hmm.
The natural state of human is happy. So I think the newborn babies, like
Yeah.
they are always like if they need something, then they don't cry only. Generally, they are happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But everything that a newborn baby does is not like the natural state of adult humans, right?
Uh, I found all the polls as myths, like just my view, but I'm thinking that all of them are myths.
Oh, well, they're not. Some of them are true. Okay, okay. All right, all right.
Yeah.
Great, great. Good to hear. Thank you so much, guys. Also, I can't see all of you, so when you're speaking out, just tell me your name. It's always nice to,
Yeah. I'm Amritesh.
Hi, Amritesh. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing what you were thinking. So
Yeah.
a few important things stand out for me here. One that's something that's relevant for what we're going to talk about today. Happiness is contagious, which means that it has something to do with our environment. It has something to do with the people we surround ourselves with. Happiness is not our default state or our natural state, which means um, there, as I was saying, there has to be some amount of intent behind it, right? Now, let me try and connect this to science. Let me try and connect this to what research tells us, right? So I have another question for you. Have you grown up around people who practiced happiness? And you can ask me what I mean by practiced happiness. But anyone, you think you've
What is
grown
that?
up around people who actively knew how to be happy? Sorry, I think I cut somebody. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Like, I would like to know what is growing up happiness.
Hmm?
How can someone practice happiness?
Right. Yes. So practicing happiness is basically doing, all the little things that can bring you happiness. Little things, big things, medium things, but basically actively doing things that you know are going to make you happy. I don't know if that answers your question, does it?
But you just said that every time, like there was one question about myth and fact. Okay,
Will it make you
I
happy
forgot the
every
question.
time?
Yeah. So every time we do same things, the amount, like we will be less happy by doing the
Hmm.
same things again and again.
Well, it's not always like that, diminishing law of diminishing marginal utility. Sometimes it also increases over a period of time. So happiness is tricky that way. For example, people who are older tend to find this calm quality of happiness. They tend to be more at peace with themselves than people who are younger. Certain things give you more joy as time goes, as you practice them more. Certain things, they give you diminishing joy as time goes. And that's a very good question, because we will come back to this in a bit, right? But to answer this question, have you grown up? Have you seen people around you who actually actively did things that made them happy?
Yes.
Like, yes,
Yeah, my mom practiced happiness a lot, like reading books about it and did a
right,
lot of things which made her happy and everyone around her.
right. And you remember that? You're smiling right now when you're thinking of it.
Yes.
Right. So the reason I bring this up is because how we learn. How do we learn anything? How do we learn what our name is? What comes after Sunday? Or what is 2 plus 3? How do we learn anything? Or how to speak, how to dress, how to walk, anything? We learn everything through repetition. There is some things have just watch and do. Some things have like, okay, watch, understand, and do. But essentially, we learn everything through just repeating. And what happens when we repeat is that there are certain parts of our brain which just learn how to do that thing better. And it learns how to do that thing faster. Right? So if you have done, it's common sense, right? If you have done something 5 times, you're going to get faster at doing it. Like driving, for example. When you drive the first time, you're so conscious, oh God, signal, traffic. But when you're driving for like the 100th time, you're listening to music and you're probably, swearing at the other guy driving by. It becomes easy for us. Why? Because your brain can now do it faster. And happiness is no exception. Okay, so one, and this we talked about earlier, is that happiness is a state of mind, first thing. And two is that it can be learned through watching and practicing. So if you have seen around you people who actively do things to make themselves happy, like, oh, I love flowers, I'm going to have a garden full of flowers, or I love to read, it gives me so much joy, I'm going to read, or I love to travel, so we will go travel. If you have had that sort of an environment, that it's likely that you know a little bit about how to find your own happiness, right? Because you've learned it. How? By just watching and repeating, right? Because that's really how our brain works. It's that simple. But what does that mean for us today? What it means for us today is that our brain still works the same way, which means that we still can do the same thing. We can watch and do, and we will find ways in which we can bring happiness into our lives. Right? We can invite happiness into our lives. Is this making sense so far? I see all of you are so quiet and I'm just like talking. Having pets, yes. Thank you so much for saying that. But just give me like a thumbs up if this is making sense so far. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear that. Okay, thank you, Divyansh. Anyone else? It's making sense only to Divyansh? Ashish, thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay, so many of you, thank you. So what have we understood so far? One is that happiness is a state of mind. Two, that it can be practiced. How? By watching others and learning from that, right? Now, let's build on that a little bit, right? Let's see if that's actually true or not. Okay, so we're going to do a small exercise, right? And I'm going to give you some instructions. I'm just going to take you through it. And all you have to do is listen and follow. Is that okay? Is that okay? Are we ready? Shall we do it? Ujjwal says yes, so I will take that as my cue. All right, so I would like all of you to close your eyes and take a deep breath, settle into a rhythm, and from your memory, think about one time when you did something nice for someone else. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a complete stranger, but just access that memory of this one time, preferably recent, when you did something nice, something that made you feel good. You did something nice for someone else, like an act of charity, an act of maybe just selfless doing for someone else, right? Let's just bring out that memory, right? And let's stay with that memory for a while. Okay, so I want all of you to go back into that memory as if you're watching it happen again. Visualize where you were standing or sitting, who was with you, what did it look like, what time of the day it was, what was around you. Try and remember again what was said, what did you hear, what was the the feel of the room or the place like? Was it hot? Was it cold? Was it comforting? Right? So just revisit that memory, access that memory once again, and just go through it like you're actually going through that moment again. And when you come to the part where you are doing that act of selfless giving, just hold on to that, savor that a little more. Register how that made you feel. Recollect what that made you think. And when that moment is past, you have maybe done the act or given what you had to give. Notice how you walk away from that situation. How does that make you feel when that situation is over, it's ending? How do you walk away? How do you feel when you're walking away? Now, this feeling that you're walking away with, how it feels in the body, how it feels in the mind, what you are thinking, just let that sink in. Let that moment sort of just, wash you all over. Let that stay with you. Take another deep breath in and exhale. And with the next breath, let that memory and let that feeling sink in a little more. Right? When you are ready, come back to this room. Do let me know with a thumbs up when you are back. Okay. I do see some people have come back. Thank you, Karthik. Thanks, Ria. What about the others? Quick thumbs up to tell me if you are back. If you have finished, you've come back from your memory, come back to the present, you can hear my voice. Okay. Okay, I see a lot of people have come in. Now, this is a question that I want all of you to answer on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 means nil or zero happiness, and 10 means the happiest you can think you'd ever be, the maximum happiness that one can imagine. Where do you see yourself right now? Just the number. If you can put the number in the chat box, I think I would really appreciate that. Thank you, Ujjwal. Thank you so much. Says 8. Divyansh is 2. Okay. Manohar is 5. What about the others? Quickly, could I have some numbers on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being absolutely 0, nil happiness, to 10 being max? Where do you see yourself right now? 7, 8, 4. Thank you. Thank you for your answers. For the ones who are not typing, I want you to at least just, do it in your mind. Ask yourself, where am I? Where am I? Right? And also ask yourself, where were you before this? Where were you before we did this exercise, before we went back into that memory and accessed it and savored it? Right? How many of you, now this is a question for a thumbs up or a thumbs down, how many of you feel that, you just found like a moment of happiness in this little exercise that we did? And you can give me a thumbs up if you do, and no if you don't. You can let me know. You can give me a thumbs down as well to let me know that didn't work for you, which can happen, by the way. It's all right. I do see some people giving me a thumbs up on that question, but okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating. What do we understand by this is that, you know, there's a lot of research that has now gone into the science of happiness. And what we know is that there are certain skills, certain certain things or certain ways or attitudes which can help us amplify the happiness that we can have in our lives. You know, interestingly, I'm a therapist, right? So I do a lot of sessions with people, and my session usually always opens with asking people, so how are you doing today? And the first way, the first answer that comes to me a lot of times is, oh, terrible. How was your week? Oh, don't ask, bad. And then I ask them, oh, but you know, did you go for that walk? You were supposed to go for a party. Did you end up going to the party? And then they're like, oh yeah, I went to that party. Yeah, Saturday was actually good, but Monday onwards it was terrible. Oh, but did you have that, like, you know, that one thing that you were supposed to have? Like, yeah, we did that. That was actually good. But so you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that we often have moments of happiness in the natural course of our lives, but these moments slip by because we don't savor them. We don't make that extra effort to save it, to live it, to sort of, you know, revel in it for a little longer. Because when you do that, it amplifies the experience, as we just saw. Right? What else helps? Well, mindfulness helps. Being in the present moment is something that there is so much research into right now, but it helps us be happy, be calm, right? And interestingly, it even changes sort of like the wiring in your brain. You know, the practice of mindfulness, when done over years, is known to reduce things like anger and anxiety and stress, and naturally amplify the sense of equanimity and happiness, right? And then, of course, there's gratitude, something that we are all familiar with, but may or may not be practicing on a very regular basis, right? And lastly, there's altruism. Now, this is something that we saw again, right? We just accessed a memory when we had done something nice, something selfless for someone else, and just reliving that memory, savoring that memory made us feel better, made us feel happy, right? Now, these are not sort of like the sources of happiness, right? But these are just ways in which we can amplify that sense of happiness in our life, the feeling of happiness in our life. Right? I will stop here for any like quick questions, thoughts, anyone? How many of you have tried any of these? Anyone practices gratitude regularly, mindfulness regularly? Anything comes to mind? Anything that you want to share? Something that you have savored, or something that, you know, you've done and that made you feel very happy, continues to make you feel happy? No?
I totally agree with you, Debasmita ma'am, that we don't, pause for a moment and let that happy moment, amplify. Like during this exercise as well, we have to circle back, to way back to look for that moment where we had amplified. And definitely all of these savoring, mindfulness, and gratitude we do practice, but this is like not that often. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
very sometimes we do I do that personally, like gratitude, something which I do understand this, it
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel happy and the other person as well. Yeah, that is there.
Right, right. That's a good you know, thought here, and it's like also a cue for me to take you to the next little bit of, you know, a little more of the sciencey stuff. So there's more research that has happened, and this is by someone who's like the number one name in the world when it comes to the science of happiness and positive psychology. And he says that happiness, of course, we talked about how it's a state, right? But it also has degrees. Like there are certain things which give us some amount of joy and it goes away very quickly. And there are certain things which give us like a lasting sense of joy, like a lasting, something that, well, um, not continuous, maybe broken, but it continues to give you joy year after year, month after month, right? So he has, what you can see on my screen, like the different
मम्मी के पास आया करो शाम को कि आज ये खाना हम भी बनाने जा रहे हैं.
ways in which we can find happiness, right? One, of course, is enjoying the day-to-day things, like savoring your cup of tea or coffee, doing something that, thinking of gratitude maybe before you go to sleep. So everyday little things that we can do. That's one thing. Using the skills that you have for enrichment, doing things on a regular basis, skill-based things on a regular basis that bring you joy. Like, I'm a psychologist. I use my skills to do sessions which help people. That's one example. Somebody is a sportsman. He uses his skills to play a game which makes him feel good and in turn, provides entertainment to so many other people. So again, skills that enrich our lives, skills that lead to achievements, right? So that's another source, or let's say like a fountain of happiness. And then there is the more lasting kind, which is meaningful contributions, right? Adding meaning to life, something that we are doing which seems to have a larger purpose. It could sort of be broken down to little acts of altruism or little acts of kindness that we do in our day-to-day life. It could be part of our profession. It could be part of our extracurriculars. It could just be part of our way of life, but something that adds meaning and it contributes to the greater good, right? Now, for a lot of us, these circles are not balanced. We might have more of one and less of the other. And one of the things about pursuit of happiness, it's not just to do many things, but it's to do some things in each of these circles, right? Just imagine if all our sources of happiness come from just the day-to-day pleasures, right? We would experience joy and happiness, but it would be very short-lived, right? And it wouldn't have that depth, that enrichment, that lasting feeling that comes from the other two circles. So that's why the pursuit of happiness needs to be several things that we do, but balanced into these three circles, and it needs to be savored. We need to remember it, be mindful of it. We need to be able to be grateful for the things that we are able to do, the things that we have. And lastly, the act of kindness, altruism, is something that kind of ties all of this together and helps us sustain a sense of happiness in life, right? So I am going to stop here and see how all of you are doing. If you are open to doing a little bit of gratitude with me here, maybe just like 2 minutes. How many of you are okay doing that? Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else who does not want to do it? It's absolutely fine if you don't. You can just sit this one out. You don't have to participate. But for the ones who do, for the ones who want to participate, let's just take a minute. And this is very simple, but let's do this. Okay. Again, the ones who don't want to do it, you can sit this one out. It's absolutely fine. Okay. So take a deep breath. Again, let's start with one deep breath. Inhale and exhale. And let's do that a few more times. Let's inhale and exhale. And as you exhale, just try to let go of the body's weight. Let go of your shoulders. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale and exhale. And as you exhale, allow yourself to sink in a little more into the chair or wherever you're sitting. Just sink in a little bit more. One more breath. Inhale and exhale. Allow your breathing to settle down into its natural rhythm. Okay. Now imagine there is a white light very close to you. There's a white light that's coming closer and closer. And as it comes closer, you can feel the light. You can feel that it's just so comforting, so soothing. It's a warm, comforting, soothing light, and it comes closer. And as it touches you, it kind of washes all of you. So now you're bathed in this white light. And slowly, the source of this white light comes to your heart. And you can feel that. You can put your palms on your heart. Put both your palms on your heart. And you can feel the warmth and the comfort of this light that is settled here. This light is the light of gratitude. You can now think of the people, the things, the situations in your life that you feel grateful for, that you feel thankful for, people who have helped you in ways, people who have loved you, taken care of you, things that really work for you. And once you visualize those people and the things and the situations one by one, set your intention to send this comforting, soothing white light that you are holding now to them. Send this white light of gratitude towards them. Send that the love, the comfort, the warmth that you are feeling towards the people that you feel grateful for. As you do this, notice light coming in through your closed eyelids. Notice a gentle smile on your lips. Notice how you're feeling. And again, with a deep inhale, let that feeling sink in. With a deep breath, let that feeling sink in. And as you exhale, slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. Let me know when you're back. I have stopped sharing the screen, but do let me know when you're back. How does that feel? Anyone, would you like to share? How does that feel? Again, maybe on a scale of 0 to 10, how does that feel? How do you feel now? I would love to hear your answers in the chat box. Thank you. I'm going to pause here. That brings us to the end of what I had in mind, to share with all of you. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sure. Before that, please, everybody, please drop in any questions that you have. We are also dropping some NPA survey. So we'd like to know how the session went and how would you recommend the session to your friends to join. We also have a repeat session coming up that is happening on 30th, that is Wednesday. So yeah, please fill in the stuff. Meanwhile, if anybody has any questions, personally, I had a question. So if anybody has, please drop in.
Yes, questions are great. Why don't you start?
Okay, I'll start with a question. Okay, do we have a question? Yeah. Define happiness in your terms. So how
Right.
do you define your
For me, I think, because I've kind of been reading up on happiness for a while now. It has kind of shaped up. So if you ask me how I define it today, I think it is a combination. It's a state of mind for sure. It's a combination of the little things that we do to keep ourselves happy, to bring those little sparks of joy. And it has a lot to do with your purpose in life, which sort of acts like your compass in everything that you do and brings a sense of happiness. So that's how I look at it.
Okay. So how can we maintain happiness state of mind? So when someone is happy, how can I prolong it for a long time? So I think that's what Divyansh meant.
Yeah, so I think, that's a good question. For a lot of us, when we are not happy, there is this struggle, to sort of get to that state of happiness. It's almost as if I have to be happy at all times. But the moment we say it's a state, by definition, it becomes transient, which means it's going to be there sometimes, it's not going to be there sometimes. So first, I just say it's important for us to learn to accept that there are times when you're not going to be happy. There are times when you're going to feel like a whole different range of emotions. But having said that, there are things that bring you happiness. There are skills, achievements, small things, self-care, purpose that bring you happiness in life, and you have to be able to do more of those. Practice those. So that's the practice of happiness that we were talking about. That the more you do those things, the more lasting this sense of happiness can become in life. Is the state of equanimity ever bad in terms of if one doesn't enjoy? Sorry, I'm going to open that up. One doesn't enjoy the good moments as much as one should be, just for the sake of maintaining composure. Equanimity cannot be faked. If it's authentic, then you will not feel that it's taking away something from you, as if like it doesn't subtract from the vitality of life. When you feel equanimous, you still feel quite blissful. But you're not doing it. If you're deliberately doing it to maintain composure, then it's not authentic equanimity. Then it's just, you're trying to be composed, which is also good, by the way. I mean, that's fine too. But true equanimity has a sense of bliss with it. It brings a sense of happiness that is stable. So you may not have the highs, but you don't have the lows either. And I think, you're in a good place, and that's stable, and it feels good. I don't know if that answers your question.
Aman,
yeah. Well, thanks. What books can you recommend for us to read about happiness? Well, I forget the name of it exactly, but there's this one book by Dr. Martin Seligman called All About Happiness, but you can maybe note the name of the author, Divyansh. It's Dr. Martin Seligman. And there's this amazing course, which is on Coursera, run by Yale University. It's called The Science of Happiness. I think that's beautiful. Everyone should just go take it. It's free. So those two could be your starting points. And then there is so much to explore, so much philosophy around happiness that you can explore. Thank you for the wonderful questions. Thanks, Divyansh.
I've also dropped a poll. Would you like to thank your HR for this session? So we have conducted this session based on the HR requirements. So it'll be great if you can fill that. And I see a lot of them have already filled. And also we want to conduct more sessions in the future as well. So you can let us know what kind of sessions that would you like to see. Also, I have another question. So how does happiness feel like if someone is under depression? So for them, they won't realize, right?
Mm, yeah, that's an excellent question. For a lot of people who are going through depression, happiness feels so far off, so distant, alien even. But the important thing is that when we said happiness is a state of mind and body, it works kind of the same way. And just like any other physical entity, it amplifies as you do more of it. So it's like when you start practicing something, let's say I'm suffering from depression. I know I like painting, but I don't have any interest in it right now. But I do it anyway. Maybe initially I won't feel anything because I'm probably moving from like a -5 upwards. But slowly, bit by bit, I will amplify that sense of happiness and I will be able to move to like a +4 or a +5. And in those cases, what we often look at is the shift, not the absolute value. So at like a +2, I'm probably still the lowest in the room, but I started at a -5. So my growth, my shift there has been amazing. But again, like the crux of it is, even when you think it is not going to work for you, it is going to work for you, because that's how the body and mind work. So move, do things that make you happy, savor, go, engage in doing something selfless, doing something good for others. It is going to work, even if you think it won't.
Okay. What if even if you do all these things and like you don't feel like happy, or what can you do in that? And like you try everything, but that's not happy. That can
Right.
happen, right?
Yes, absolutely. While we talk about happiness and the pursuit of happiness, it's also important to look at things that are happening in our life which actively drain that happiness. There could be people, situations, maybe related to personal lives, maybe related to work, which is actively draining our sense of happiness. So it's essentially like a bucket with a lot of holes. You keep trying to fill it, but it's never full because it's constantly running out, right? So in those cases, it would also be important to examine that. Where is my even though I'm trying to do all of it, I still get the sense I'm surviving, I'm not able to thrive, which probably means that there is something else in your life that's causing that drain, and you need to explore that, look into that, try to put a stop to it, get some boundaries maybe, and then it'll help.
Right. So we can take a few more questions if there is any from the chat.
There is one which has come directly to me, and it says that, isn't depression just a state of mind, lack of or shortage of happiness? Well, depression is in part a state of mind. Depression is a disorder. It has a lot to do with your biology. It has a lot to do with your mind. It has a lot to do with your environment. Everything from like the lack of B12 to neglect as a child to a genetic predisposition combines to give rise to this mental health condition that we call depression. But however, feeling depressed once in a while is a state of mind, not the illness depression. Those two are different things.
Debasmita, there's another question. I think this is even.
Okay. Oh, a long one. Let's look at this. This extreme polarization between the current state of mind and what one assumes to be the state of happiness And the entire journey of overcoming that is probably what I believe is the hardest part of overcoming. Absolutely. Depression, what are your thoughts? I agree, and well, you're right. The more we think about it like a destination, like a place that we have to get to, it somehow seems to manage to elude us. Like anything that you're chasing can run faster than you can, sort of. But which is why the mindfulness, which is why the gratitude can help, which is why sometimes when we are talking about people suffering from depression, we talk about the smallest of things and just getting those done and savoring that little victory. Like for me, maybe just getting out of bed, getting dressed and showing up at work is an achievement, and I'm going to savor that today, right? So it's not so much about the destination, but really about putting one step ahead of the other, and just with that intent that yes, it's possible for me to feel this way, it's possible for me to get there, just keep going. If you think of it, it'll seem like Mount Everest and it'll seem insurmountable, but essentially I agree with what you're saying, Aman.
Okay, cool. I have just dropped a survey chat in the link, so I hope everyone would fill it. And thank you so much, Debasmita, for this session. It was amazing. I think like a, I don't know, the burst of happiness, something. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining on a Monday. So I'm very grateful for everyone here, and thank you, Mana, for organizing this, and also all the HRs and all the companies that been associated with. And I hope everyone liked this session. Please do fill out the forms. We'll also be sending an email. And if anybody requires an EPPT or anything, and also we have a repeat session coming up on Wednesday. You can ask your friends to join in on Wednesday as well. And if you want to join again, please do join. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.